Good morning. Oh, you know, when I was asked to come and speak, I got told there's going to be some really good speakers here. There's going to be Liam Black, Brian Popsis, Joe Bushy, Duncan Goose, David LePage, and you're following them. No pressure there. I need to move this on. Let's have a look. No, am I there? Yes, that's me. Great. I've been asked to talk a little bit about why choose a career or a future in social enterprise. Well, for me, it might be a bit obvious, we're all going to be working towards our 70s these days, so you might as well do something that you enjoy. As I said, you know, I came over from the dark side in sort of private sector, although very good company, I have to say, but moved over from it. I didn't really discover social enterprise until I was sort of well into my mature, you know, being a bit mature. I'm hoping that more people will discover it earlier. Maybe it's time to start thinking about whether business that is based purely on money is actually the way that we're going to create the type of future that we all want. Do we want care homes which commoditise our parents and grandparents, where the profits fall neatly into the back pockets of multinationals while the workers exist on minimum wage? I mean, that's quite an easy one, but how about supermarket chains that pretend to be good corporate citizens by giving out some sports equipment or computers, but force food producers to throw away rejected, non-perfect produce? I mean, they want to have their absolutely perfect displays up there. I thought this was quite telling. But they won't allow those producers to sell the food at affordable prices to their local community. Don't even get me talking about banks. The future has got to be social business. But what is it? I mean, yesterday, Liam Black was talking about Muhammad Yunus. I mean, an absolute icon and somebody that I really... Well, I was fortunate enough to hear speak this year and was completely spellbound, a bit like we've been today, but I won't go on about it today. He talks about that there are businesses to make money and businesses that make a difference. But we need to be sure that social business, social enterprise, is not woolly, it's not sandals and candles. And it's not a charity, although it might help a charity out. And it's not a voluntary organisation, although it might use volunteers. So on that confusing note. But let's have a little chat about whether or not a future in social enterprise actually ticks your boxes. Now, we've heard a lot about whether you're a social entrepreneur, whether you're going to start your own social enterprise. Actually, there's just as many people that we need to work in social enterprises, so it might just be an opportunity to try it out. But what gets you out of bed in the morning? What actually gets you to work? Few of us are actually motivated by money. A lot of us are demotivated by money when you find out that the bloke that works alongside you gets a lot less, but that's another story. We don't really seem to like increasing material returns either. I mean, more so with the economic downturn. We've seen people camping out outside St Paul's Cathedral. But even 15 years ago, when I first became involved in corporate social responsibility, people were looking for more than money from their working lives. Interestingly, the decision that made me leave that organisation was when they had a merger and they actually became much more hard-nosed, and I felt that I didn't fit there anymore. It didn't match my values. So I walked at that point. When I talked to colleagues that had stayed there, it was interesting to find out that they'd actually upped their volunteering dramatically. They had to counter the things that were missing in their business life by going out and doing things that actually made them feel as if they were giving some sort of worth. So let's have a look at some of the reasons that you go to work. Obvious one. Do you have a want to make a difference? I mean, that's what we tend to talk about in social enterprise, isn't it? Or we want to make a difference, want to actually have a cause. If that's your driver, then obviously you've ticked your box. That's what works. But it might be that you've got a really good skill. You've worked really hard to get that skill. You might have studied for years. So you think that you ought to go and do it. Well, we actually need, in the social enterprise sector, all those skills, just as much as any business does. So if you want to contribute your skills, there is somebody that wants them. So you've ticked that box as well. But if you want to be in charge, not necessarily a Ricky Gervais, but if you like to be a boss, it doesn't actually necessarily mean it's all about ego. But you want to be a manager. You like pulling things together. You might like working across functions and getting things to work. Well, you've heard a lot of people talk about the need to grow the sector, to find the managers of the future for the social enterprise sector. The lack of high-level business skills. We need those skills. So you've ticked your box. Again, economic... Oh, hang on. Wrong one. We look, particularly with sort of Generation Y, Generation X, and those of us who'd like to think we're in that, a lot of people want to be a bit freer about when they work, why they work, how hard they work, who they work for. And they actually want to have a say in what they do, day to day in work. They want greater autonomy. Well, actually, the social enterprise sector is known for its ability to be innovative, to take on board new ideas, finding new solutions. So if that's the way you want to work, you might have found the perfect home. And in the economic downturn, a lot of us are looking for a bit more security. We want stability. We either want to be financially or geographically secure. Well, it probably wouldn't surprise you that social enterprises are on the whole good employers. They avoid the hire and fire that you get with boom and bust of the commercial sector. They don't tend to operate in the same way as their economically driven counterparts. So you've got that as well. But if it's all about challenge, if you're driven by trying to solve impossible problems, if you just see an obstacle as something to get over, and that winning is more important in it than actually having a specific skill, if you find something boring if it's too easy, then how big an ask is changing the world? You also might want to achieve a balance. You actually might want your work not to take over from your family too much. You actually want to have a degree of integration and feel that everything works together. Well, actually, within a sector that's trying to achieve a balance between profit and people, or between economic development and environment, it understands all about balance. So tick. We've heard a lot about entrepreneurs, a lot about social entrepreneurs. If you're an entrepreneur and you want to create something new, you want to overcome obstacles in your way and you want to manage risk, if you have a strong desire to build something new and feel that what was built is down to you and your efforts, as a social entrepreneur, you can help find innovative solutions to some of the world's most challenging problems. But what if it is about money? You know, cut to the chase. And it might be. There's nothing wrong in that. We all have to earn a living. I was talking to a group of students last year, and they actually said to me, well, social enterprise might be all right for when I'm older. You know, once I've got some money. They seem to think that if they were working in social enterprise, they had to do it for nothing. That it was all about volunteering and doing things because you wanted to help poor people or whatever. I found it quite worrying. Social business is a business. And actually there should be little difference in earning potential between social enterprise sector and mainstream sector. And that's actually, if it's not where we are at the moment, it's what we should be looking for. So, money, you can earn an income as well. Now bear with me on this one, because I've gone a bit offline. Person on the left, I'm terrible on hands, Aristotle. Aristotle actually has got a theory And he talks about his theory of happiness, what makes us happy. And he's got an interesting theory about this life of value, where it's all about balance. It's all about getting that right balance. Sometimes you might go for the money, other times you might go for what you can deliver. There's an interesting man called Charles Handy, a sort of management guru that's gone off the scene a bit now. And he used to talk about how he worked for an income for a third of his time, worked on things that he found of value for another third of his time, and spent a third of his time on holiday. And he saw that as a balance within his life. But for all of us, actually, probably what's going to tick our box is achieving that life of value, that life of balance. So, was it so far off the mark? So we had a look at why a career in social enterprise might be the right choice for you. But there's also a very serious reason why it might be the right choice for you. It's because the sector needs you. Who is going to take up the challenge of taking social enterprise forward? It's probably not going to be me for that many more years. We need a whole new generation to actually drive the sector forward. We need new blood, or else we can't really think about what's going to happen to all the amazing social enterprises that we've currently got. And what if we don't attract the skills and talents that we need to help our social businesses grow? We're going to be destined to a sector of micro-social enterprises scraping through and using their valuable resources on chasing grant after grant rather than becoming sustainable and developing a strong trading base. But perhaps we should ask, I mean, we were talking about ready, willing and able earlier, perhaps we should ask whether or not the sector is actually ready to attract such talent. Over the past day, we've heard a lot about social enterprise being the business model of the future. But I don't know, sometimes you feel as if it's almost as if you have to sign up to the cause, you know, take the pledge and all this sort of thing. Are we all a bit too worthy and evangelical about it? Often, a bit like in small businesses, the owner is very protective of their enterprise or their social mission. And it can be really quite daunting for a new employee to join and share those values. It's difficult for them to understand the values of an enterprise that actually doesn't openly discuss them. It's almost as if we expect new recruits, or even procurers, and that's another argument, to understand our social mission through telepathy. And it might be uncomfortable, but as well as bringing with them new skills, talents, innovation, new recruits might just bring the challenge you need to take your organisation to the next level. It was interesting yesterday, we ran a workshop on young people and social enterprise. And I was driving one of them home afterwards, and I was talking to them about, you know, their thoughts on the day. And they actually said to me, oh, if this is all about social enterprise, why was everybody talking about funding? How would you deal with that sort of question? And how would we deal with it if that person was a new recruit to our organisation? Would we squash them and say, well, you don't know anything? Or would you talk about it? Now, everyone's talking digital at the moment, how we embrace new technologies. It's a challenge for the sector. How many of us tweet? And who knows about clouds that doesn't involve weather forecasts? I mean, I've always thought of myself as fairly IT literate. My son doesn't think that, but I fooled myself. I'm on Facebook and I tweet. I've built websites. And I might even start blogging soon if I can get my head around it. And I know all sorts of words. I know search engine optimization, ISP. I even learned about Google Analytics the other day, and I've got a dongle. But I have to admit defeat. I just can't get my head around cloud technologies. I just don't know. I think I've got to the point of impasse, and I don't know how I'm going to keep up with the new world any longer. You know, I need help. And as we move forward and look at the challenges that face us, we know that same old is just not going to do anymore. We need to find new ways of doing things, of delivering our public services or creating social businesses that address some of the huge challenges that we face. We need creativity and innovation, and we need to embrace new technologies. And as I said earlier, the people that come on board now are going to help to shape the future of social enterprise in Wales. But another plea from yesterday's workshop: don't treat the people that come on board now as if they're just there to make the tea or do the filing. Let them be part of the solution, not just part of the problem. I know that it's usual to make introductions at the start of any presentation or event or whatever, and when you first meet someone, but I might like to make a couple of introductions now, if I may. I'd like you all to have a look around. Look around at the people sitting near you. How many of them don't you know? Smile at the people that you don't know. You could even shake their hands if you want, if you don't know them. And if you're really pushed over lunch, you could give them a hug. But actually, no, it's serious. For the social business movement to grow, it needs every single person here to join forces to drive the sector forward in Wales. So if you're here because you think you're curious, you think that social enterprise sounds interesting, and you think that you might want to get involved, dive in. It really can be the future of businesses, but only if talented people like you get involved. And if you're a social entrepreneur, welcome these people. With open arms, welcome these people. They have the skills, the talents, and the drive to take your social enterprises forward. They are your future, and they are your sustainability. Exchange contact details. Invite them to visit today. Thank you.